Get ready.
This is the voice of Wayne America.
Lighten up, Francis.
With your host,
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Mike Carnes.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers?
My height.
Only at WayneAmerica.com.
The supernova's gonna kill us all. .com.
Okay, this guy is the real zero, that's true. Let's just think back when you guys were freshmen, huh?
.com.
Greetings and welcome back to the Voice of Wayne America podcast here on WayneAmerica.com. I'm Mike Carnes, your host for a weekly news and interview segment that we have started here on WayneAmerica.com. The program kind of got its start a little over a year ago, and we were doing it kind of on a test to see what kind of response there would be, and there has been some good response to it. And now we have a sponsor, and the sponsor is for the Voice of Wayne America podcast is Providence Medical Center, and we thank them for their patronage and their sponsoring of the Voice of Wayne America podcast. To debut the podcast here, or to re-debut the podcast here on Voice of Wayne America, we thought we'd talk with Carolyn Albracht. She's a professor in the art department at Wayne State College, and last summer she and her husband Wayne opened the Blue Cat Gallery and Studio, which is located on 3rd Street, just west of Main Street in downtown Wayne America. We did a story on the new art gallery when it first opened last summer, and they're getting ready for another new show that debuts this week, and it sounds very interesting. So I thought it would be a great time to restart the Voice of Wayne America podcast and talk about the gallery and the upcoming art show that centers around the theme Myths and Monsters and includes a wide variety of genres. And Carolyn, thanks for taking time to talk with us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. I know that when we did this last summer, you had mentioned that opening an art gallery in Wayne was something that was kind of on your to-do list when you guys moved here from out of town. I guess tell us about what brought you to Wayne and what made you think that this was a good idea.
Sure. So what brought me to Wayne was, of course, the position at the college. I'm the art education faculty in the art and design department. And so when my husband and I made the decision to move up here, we had actually looked at buying an acreage. That's been something that both of us have been interested in. With our unconventional background, prior to moving to Wayne, America, we lived in Aurora, Nebraska, and there we owned a church, a former church that we had converted into our residence and an art center and gallery there for 13 years. And so that was part of the impetus. I had done it before, so I knew that I wanted to continue doing that sort of thing. And so when we looked for acreages, that fell through, and so my husband said, well, there was another building, and I didn't show you this, but there is a commercial space in downtown Wayne, and so I looked at the building and, looked at photos of it. We came and looked at the actual building. Previously, there had been 3 apartment rentals in the upstairs. We've converted that to our home, and then, of course, the main level, the street level, is conveniently divided into 2 halves, and so half of it is the gallery space, and half of it is my husband's offices and laboratory. He's a scientist, so.
Okay. And your husband teaches online, correct?
He does. He does for Ashford University, which is a university based out of San Diego.
So that'd be a long commute otherwise if you had to.
It would be a very long commute. Very true. But yes, he has students all over the world, and so it's really kind of an interesting gig for him.
Yeah. When we did this last year, you'd mentioned that opening an art gallery here was one of the reasons what brought you here. What made you think that something like this would work in Wayne?
Yeah, that's a great question. I ran into the same thing in Aurora, similar sized town, 4,500. Wayne's a little bit bigger. But I think it being a college town is part of what, there's already a population base here that's interested in the arts and humanities and that sort of thing. And so it's something that fits with what's already going on here, similar to what I experienced in Aurora. There wasn't an art center and gallery there, but there were sort of cultural cues. And so that's one thing I saw about Wayne, was that there were cultural cues that said this might be a good idea, something that would be an addition, something to complement what's already going on here. We've got an amazing downtown, many business owners who are really building up something of a boutique economy, and I see Blue Cat Gallery fitting into that aspect. And it provides something a little bit different. My hope is that in addition to the gallery aspect, I do have the studio space, which functions as my personal art making space, but I've offered several workshops this past fall, and I am looking to expand the educational aspect, and so I think that's something else that can be an additional piece to add to the community.
Mm-hmm. That's something that kind of ties into your work at the college too, with your education experience in art. That's kind of neat how that all kind of ties in together for you.
Yes, absolutely, and that's again one of those goals that I am finding that I need to build things slowly, so that I get one thing sort of down pat and then can continue on with other goals. But certainly one of the goals that I have with the education piece is that potentially students may be able to use this as, testing grounds for their own teaching experience, gain some experience that way. And so that is another aspect that I'm looking at for the use of this space.
Now, you guys opened this up last summer, and the timing of it was perfect because it was during the Wayne Chicken Show, and so the first thing was something based around chickens, and that went over really well. And then I know you had an urban themed show, and then one that I didn't get a chance to check this out, but the Under 200 show was something that kind of interested me when you first mentioned it. Talk a little bit about what Under 200 is and what that particular show was all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Under 200 essentially just referred to the idea that every piece in the show would be for sale and that it would be priced under $200. And so many galleries do a holiday type show and have a variety of names for it. And so Under 200 just seemed like a nice way to capture what the purpose was, but not be super in your face about it.
Uh-huh.
And so what I found with that show, after having done it, I anticipated that it would be, a really neat thing to include in the calendar. And I ended up having around 20 artists in the show. So a really nice variety of work, different artists from local as well as regional. So it just really ended up being a nice show. There was a little something for everybody. Mm. There were certainly sales, and that was, a good thing because you need to keep the doors open, and that's how you do it.
Right.
And so, it ended up being a really, really neat experience. And I think for some of the local artists that maybe don't have as much experience showing in galleries, that was a great way for them to participate and add to what we're already doing here.
Now, what were some of the items that were on display and on sale here?
So we had a number of photographs. So there were several artists that worked with photography. One who manipulates his photography through the computer, and so creates these geometric designs with farm scenes that he goes out and photographs. There was a local artist, Nicole Listerfelt, who creates in a variety of media, but one of hers is paper quilling. So that was a really interesting addition to the mix. Nobody else was doing anything like that. Mm-hmm. And something that you don't typically see in a gallery setting, at least not from my experience. There was some pottery. There was certainly a variety of paintings. I'm trying to think, what else did we have? Drawings. In fact, I have one hanging over on the wall that when the artist submitted it to be accepted into the show, I knew before it even arrived at the gallery that it was going to be mine. So I purchased that one myself. There was just a whole nice variety, some printmaking. Just about every medium you could think of was included in the show.
It's kind of neat to get a lot of different artists involved in something like that. That sounds like something that. Are you going to do that again, maybe sometime down the road? Or? Yeah,
so my intent at this point, I feel it was a successful show, and so both the chicken show, which is in July and August, that's going to be a juried show this year. So last year, for the first opening exhibit, I created it as an invitational, so I invited all the artists who showed. This time I've hired a judge and juror, so that person will take a look at the submissions, decide which ones get to be shown. There will be awards as part of that. There will be a best of show as well as a first place 2D, first place 3D. And those works could, of course, come from the local community or the regional community, but potentially from around the United States. Mm-hmm. So that's one that I intend to keep on the calendar every year. And then the Under 200 show is one that I feel like it was successful this first time around, and so I intend to keep doing that. And And with that one, I will likely, put the word out to the artists who participated last year, give them first choice to participate again, and then after that, put out a call to get more artists and see how we can pull the show together again this year.
How many artists did you have under 200 this
So
last
there
time?
were about 20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So get about another 20 to come in and do it again and
Yes.
and make it a big success again.
Yes. And while it was a fairly, I wouldn't call it a packed show, it had, there were certainly a good number of pieces in the show, and so I would say I could even push the limits to maybe 25 or 30 artists, depending on the size of the work. So we could actually fit more in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that would be interesting to see down the road.
Yes,
So,
yes.
We're talking with Carolyn Albracht. She is a professor at the Art Department of Wayne State College and also the owner of Blue Cat Gallery and Studio, located in downtown Wayne, America, here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast. And wanted to take time out to talk about our sponsors at Providence Medical Center. They are proud to announce the addition of a new surgical procedure that they now offer at the hospital here in Wayne called shoulder arthroscopy. This surgical procedure is for those who have rotator cuff injuries, where the surgeon inserts a tiny camera and the necessary instruments through small incisions in the shoulder rather than doing an open procedure with a large incision. Dr. Joseph Caro specializes in orthopedic surgery for Providence Medical Center. He's a team physician for Wayne State Athletics and also offers his expertise at multiple high schools in the area. For more information, check out Providence Medical Center's website at www.providencemedical.com. That's Providence Medical Center, extraordinary care rooted in compassion. We're talking with Carolyn Albracht from the Blue Cat Gallery and Studio, located here in downtown Wayne, America. Blue Cat. Explain the Blue Cat name. Where that came from?
Sure. So when I was thinking about what to call this space, I remember that I put it out there on Facebook, asked the Facebook friends, what do you think I should call this space? My previous project in Aurora was called L'Église, which is French for church. Again, not too obvious, but if you know French, it's like, oh, okay, you make the connection. Well, so I wanted to do something similar, not too obvious, but when people heard the explanation, they'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. So somebody, and I wish I could remember who, in Facebook land had suggested that I use the mascots of the town and do a mashup. And so that's how it came to be. So the Blue Devils is where blue comes from, and the Wildcats is where cat comes from. I am a cat person, so it was an easy sell. So that's how Blue Cat came about.
Okay, well, I know some people have asked me what the Blue Cat thing was, and I had told them what you had told, because you mentioned that when we had done the story, I think back last summer, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. Yes. And it works out great.
It does, absolutely.
So this new show that's going to be opening up, it's going to be actually opening up this weekend here in Wayne at the Blue Cat Gallery. It centers around the theme Myths and Monsters. And from reading the information about the show on the website, it looks like a really interesting idea for a show. Tell me about who's presenting the show and what we can expect and what the idea for the show came from.
Sure. So this show features 7 artists. The coordinator of the show and one of the featured artists, her name is Amanda DeFazio. All of the featured artists in the show are students at UNO, and so they've got a large enough art department that they're able to have several student groups. For example, here at Wayne, we've got Art Ed Club and Art Club. There is some overlap, but with a larger department like they have at UNO, they're able to have more specialized niches. So it's the Book and Print Art Guild. And so I met Amanda last summer when I went to Frogman's Print Workshop, which is hosted at UNO. They do that in the summer for a couple weeks. And she happens to be an art education major, me being the art ed faculty here at Wayne State. We got to talking. We attended the same workshop. I was making plans to open up the gallery at the time that I attended the workshop, and so that came up as a natural part of the conversation. And so working with Amanda, she's been absolutely fabulous in coordinating her group. She's been my go-to person, and she and her mom actually drove the work up this Monday, delivered the whole show to us. And as far as the Myths and Monsters part of it, when she proposed the idea of her group doing an exhibit, she said, well, this is the theme we're thinking of. We like to give ourselves a theme, some kind of parameters to work under where we all create work responding to that theme. And so that was what they had chosen for their selection. I had told her at the time, I said, that's great because the timing that we're looking at for March and April, it'll actually in April coincide with an event going on Wade State campus with the WillyCon. And so, I'll be able to, promote this exhibit to the group that's, involved with that, likely some overlap in interest, get some exposure that way. And so really that's how it came about and how the show came to be.
Yeah. Now, some of the prints that you had on the website, is that some of what we can see, we'll see here?
Right. So the work that I put on the poster and put on the website, those are pieces that are all included in the show. So there is a nice variety, even though they're focused on printmaking and book arts. There's a variety of pieces made in handmade paper, collaged elements with those. There's some that are simply drawn, so some of them just take whatever medium they're interested in working with, so they don't necessarily stay within that print and book arts media process. There's some sculptural pieces out of fabric, so some textile pieces, which is a lot of fun. And so, so there's, again, a nice variety. With 7 artists, you would certainly expect to see some variety, and you will get that with this show.
Yeah. Now the show opens up this Friday. Tell us about the opening this Friday.
Yeah, so there will be an opening reception. I know that Amanda will be back. I am not sure about the rest of the group. Hopefully some of them will make the trip with her. And so from 5 to 7, the public's welcome to come in, meet Amanda, hopefully some of the other artists. I've special ordered some custom popcorn from Aqua Pop. So getting some
That'll get me there, that's all.
So getting some blue and green, if you got a sweet tooth, you can come in and have some treats. And so it's just really an opportunity to see the show, meet the artists, talk some art talk, and have some refreshments. So. All
right, and then I guess looking back on this year, how's the reception been in the community to the gallery in general?
Yeah, it's been really positive. I can't tell you how many people have come in that just really have told me how much they appreciate that I've opened this up, that really they come in and, I'm not sure what the expectation is, but whatever the expectation was, they leave being glad that they came in, they return, and so it's been largely positive. I know the first time I had a no visitor day, I was like, well, I knew it would happen eventually. But, there for like several months, I didn't have a day where I was open where I didn't see any traffic. And so it was really, really pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then we talked a little bit about a couple of things you have planned for this year. What are some of the shows you have planned for 2018?
So coming up after Myths and Monsters, there will be 3 artists from the central Nebraska area that will be showing. One who's a ceramist, one who is a painter, does really vibrant kind of Van Gogh-ish kind of style. And then a third one who does geometric, they're airbrush paintings, but he works sort of off the wall, so they're kind of somewhere between 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. They hang on the wall, but they come off the wall. I think it'll be a nice, we've got a 2D artist, a sort of 2.5D artist, and a 3D artist all showing together. So that's the May and June exhibit. And then, of course, I mentioned that the chicken show this year, Chickens and Other Signs of Rural Life, that will be a juried show.
And will that be juried during the chicken show then? Or?
So the jurying process happens beforehand, and then so the exhibit will open, I want to say actually July 4th. It's a Wednesday. I do have extended hours in the summer, so once the academic year is over, mid-May, I will go to Wednesday through Saturday. Currently, the gallery is open just Friday and Saturday. So we'll actually open the July-August show on July 4th. And then I did notice that chicken show this year is the week after, so we may wait until the following week to do the actual reception.
Okay.
But yeah, all of the artists who will be featured in that show, that jurying process will happen. The deadline will be May 31st, and then that gives the juror a week or two to look at submissions, make selections, and then notify the artists so that they can get their work here to the gallery.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll have in September, October, will be a show that I'm calling juicy, joyous, and jarring juxtapositions. And that was based off of one of my former students when I taught high school. She went on to UNK and just graduated this past May, I think. Or was it last? Or was it just this? No, she just graduated in December. Okay. So some of the pieces that she had included in her senior show are these ceramic pieces that on one side is the look of a brain, and then on the other side is slices of fruit. So like if you imagine fruit sliced in half, like the what an orange might look like, or a lemon, or so that's where the idea for the strange juxtaposition, you know? Like
if an orange had a brain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like if an orange had a brain, or if you cut a brain in half, you might see an orange. I don't know. Anyway, so just really visually things that you wouldn't expect to see together. And so after inviting her and she saying yes, then I went ahead and started looking for some other artists whose work might fit that theme. And I am actually looking for a couple more artists to show with that particular show. So if there's anybody listening who thinks their work might fit that theme, get a hold of me.
All right. And that'll be this fall then, right?
That'll be this fall.
Okay.
Yep. And then, of course, we'll be back around to the Under 200 show.
Okay.
So, yep.
All right. So it looks like an interesting year here at Blue Cat Studio, Art Gallery and Studio. It's going to be a really interesting show that's going to be coming up here this weekend with the Myths and Monsters show, which features the University of Nebraska at Omaha's Print and Book Arts Guild. And that runs March 2nd through April 28th, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And of course, the gallery is open Friday and Saturday from, I guess, give me the hours on Friday and Saturday.
10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
On both days?
Yes.
Okay, so there's your opportunity to see a great show that's going to be coming up here in the spring here at the Blue Cat Gallery and Studio. I need to work on my vocals, I guess, or something. So, but gonna be great. And the opening of the Myths and Monsters show will be this Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. It's free and open up to the public. So I guess that's going to do it for me, unless you got anything else you want to add to the effort here today.
I just want to thank you for having me on the show.
All right. Well, thank you for being a part of it. Appreciate you doing it. So we've been talking with Carolyn Albracht from Blue Cat Gallery and Studio here on The Voice of Wayne America, and that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Voice of Wayne America podcast. And I want to thank our sponsors at Providence Medical Center for their support of the program as well. We'll be back with another edition of Voice of Wayne America here next week on WayneAmerica.com. Until then, take care of everything you got going on in your world, and I'll see you next week here on Voice of Wayne America.